Advisory Committee meeting for the Southeast region. We have a packed meeting, very engaging meeting coming up. I want to make sure first to introduce to you our new director for OBOC, Tondra Davis. Very excited to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more to this committee? Oh, did Tondra freeze?
Yes, looks like it.
Okay, well, maybe we'll come back when Tondra gets unfrozen. She'll be happy
There
though.
she
Oh,
is.
there you are. I was gonna say, I'm sure you'd be happy though. You froze with a nice smile on your face.
Oh,
So
okay. Well,
I was giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
yes. And I was in the middle of that too. I'm here in the Milwaukee office, and it looks like my bandwidth is not as much as it needs to be. But anyways, I was just saying that I feel like I've introduced myself 1,000 times
Right.
in these last 6 weeks. So forgive me if I repeat myself to you, but I'm super excited. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You can't hear me. Okay. Um, I'm super excited to be in the role as the OBOC director. And I come from most recently at the Department of Transportation, where I was the director of supplier diversity, where we certified minority, women, and service disabled veteran-owned businesses to help them have a better opportunity to do business with the state. And then in the past also, so I'm returning to the Department of Transportation. In the past, I've worked with the Department of Motor, or the Division of Motor Vehicles, and then also working with State Patrol in their Bureau of Transportation Safety Grants. So returning back to DOT, and I am excited to be here. I'm thankful for the wonderful staff that I have, who have really been very welcoming and certainly have given me lots of information to hopefully, as we go on, be a better resource. If you need anything, we are certainly willing to work with you. So just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tondra. We are so happy and fortunate to have you on board, and looking forward to where you're taking OBOC as we move forward. So thanks for all you're going to do. I'll thank you in advance. And for being my great colleague over these years, because Tondra and I worked really closely together in her role at Wisconsin Supplier Diversity. So this is really exciting for me on multiple levels. So also want to, well, you've already been introduced to my co-host, David Hubbard, but he will take us into this meeting, give you a little overview, and then we'll get right into it with the Southeast region.
Great. Thank you. And again, I'd like to welcome Tondra to the meeting and back to the DOT. It's good to have you here. Did we want to do self-introductions for folks that are new to the committee, or are there any new folks out there?
I looked and I didn't see any new people, but certainly anyone new to us who would like to introduce yourself, please do. No?
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
I'm Madeline McLean. I'm with Payne and Dolan. Trevor Wallner used to be a part of these meetings, but now it will be me from here on out. So this is my first one of these meetings. So excited to see what it's all about.
Great. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to working more with you on Mentor Protege as well.
Great. Thank you. So just a quick overview, if there's nobody else, just a quick overview of the agenda. Bob and his team will be giving an overview of some of the Southeast project opportunities. And then we'll hear from Madalena and Benji on the DBE utilization updates and annual overall goal setting. And then we'll hear from Alec on labor utilization in the Southeast region. And then we will break into our subgroups for 50 minutes, and then we'll come back for about 10 minutes and just do a wrap up of what each group discussed.
That sounds great.
So with that, do we turn it over to Bob?
I think we should. Are you ready, Bob?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. So welcome everybody and good morning. You probably had a couple meetings already. So yeah, I'm always excited with this crowd, and it's always good to be transparent and be able to share some information on our projects. We're going to talk a little bit in this order. Jason, Roselle, and Sean will talk a little bit about the zoo interchange when we're at there. We're in our final year, so amazing. And then I'll have David Wen talk a little bit about the 43 majors. And then Jeff Bowen, you maybe share a little bit about the upcoming 894 resurfacing project. And then maybe give a little bit, if Jason's still on, maybe you may want to talk a little bit about Capitol to Brown Street to Capitol, excuse me, resurfacing is coming this summer. And then I think we have Deb Evers, right? Is that how you want to
Yep.
do that, Madalena? Yeah.
That sounds good to me. Yes.
Okay, why don't we, take, so we'll start with Jason and Sean. Go ahead, turn your cameras on, and talk a little bit about the zoo and where we're at, and easy crowd, Sean. So
Hey, morning, Bob. I'm not going to turn my. Can you hear me, Bob?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to turn my camera on because I'm driving, but
understood. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Jason Roselle. I'm Southeast Freeways Construction Chief. I think I know a number of you. I participated in this meeting a few times over the years, but yeah, the Zoo North Lake project is in its final year of construction and the final year of the entire zoo program. We also have a zoo landscaping project that's going on this year as well that I think might have a little bit of carryover, and we always tend to have a little bit of carryover into 2024 in the spring, but major construction is being completed this year in 2023 and open to traffic. So things are in the home stretch there, and we're looking good. We just are into our final stage. We switched traffic a couple weeks ago to get into our final stage. All the traffic is now on the northbound side of the roadway, so we can build the southbound side and finish those bridges on that side, and work towards getting all the ramps and everything open, and the North Avenue interchange open as well. They're way ahead of schedule, I would say, on the bridge work. They've got a lot of work done over the winter, and are set up for success, I would say, and to kind of hit the ground running here. I would say once the weather breaks, because it's still cold out, and they're getting a lot of work done. But yeah, we're removing all the pavement and getting ready to put in storm sewer and things like that for this year. And then Sean's going to share a little bit about where we're at currently with paid to date and some numbers on the actual DBE subcontractors and vendors that are on the project. So go ahead, Sean.
Thanks, Jason. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying a nice sunny day. Yeah, I'm the construction project manager for the Zoo North Lake, but also the construction supervisor. I just got a promotion about a month or so ago, but nice to see everybody here. Yeah, like Jason mentioned, we're in year 3. Just a few statistics. The job had a 15% DBE goal when it was let. They had a good faith effort. They're about like 13.4%. And then we did have a bunch of project changes, some added work. So the current DBE commitment is actually a little bit over 16%, which is great. Just some stats here. We've paid to date so far about 11 million per the DBE goal. So that's at about 60%. And then through the remainder of this year, we do have quite a bit of work left, a lot of barrier wall. And right now we're trending, toward, at least the current commitment of 16%.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Sean. Any questions on the zoo? Hey, Sean, who's the landscape contractor out there for the landscaping job?
It's Arbor Green out of Portage.
Okay. Thank you.
Sean, just one point of clarification. Earlier, you mentioned that the DBE goal was 15% and the achievement was 13.4%. What is the 16%?
So the 13.4 was at the time of let, they turn in all their documentation, and at the time of let, the percentages that they were at was 13.4. But then as the project progressed, we had to add a bunch of water main work, as well as we still have some additional temporary vein drain work that added some value dollars to the contract, and that work was given to a DBE subcontractor. So that's how the overall percentage increased.
Okay, so the DB achievement is now 16%.
Yeah, I mean, it's the current goal. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to play at with final measured quantities and how everything pans out, and there's a lot of trucking involved, but at least the current commitment that was updated, and Madalena could speak more, but we're about 16%.
Thanks, Sean.
No problem.
Okay, fantastic. Any more questions on the zoo? I'll let Sean and Jason get to their other appointments. I know. Thank you so very much.
Thank you both.
Yep. David
Thank
and
you.
David Wynn and let me see. Who do you got, David, coming on?
I've got Jay and I. We're gonna
Thank you.
tag team this thing, Bob. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. You all can hear us?
Yes.
All right, awesome. I'll give a quick update on upcoming opportunities, and then Jay can give a quick update on construction on I-43. So we'll get down to our last package here on that I-43 major project. The Mequon Road interchange will be let in July of this year. By the way, it's in the same month as the reletting of A94. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for the construction industry. We're going to advertise in June, early June, and then shortly after that, within 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a pre-bid meeting. The DBE percentage is set at 12%. So far, we're doing very well on the corridor, which Jay can speak to. Jay, why don't you give a quick update on construction, starting with the north end?
Sounds good. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Starting on the north end, so this is from basically Highland Avenue to the Highway 60 in Ozaukee County. This is the Michaels construction project. We did a shift March 15th. We moved the southbound traffic over onto the northbound lanes. So they are currently grading the entire southbound side. Along with that, we closed the Pioneer Road interchange. So they've demoed the bridge. They're working from the west to east. The abutment is completed. The pier is coming out of the ground. They hope to be setting girders in a couple of weeks, or probably middle of May to Memorial Day on county line on the west end. They also are doing the Lakefield Road Bridge. They finished the piling last week and they're starting to come. The grading on the southbound side has been we've had a few inefficiencies. We've had weather. We've been battling that the last few weeks. And then we've had a Trans 220 issue where the previous the contractor Lumens, or the fiber company Lumens, hired a contractor. Their contractor did not meet their work plan. They're supposed to be 11-foot depth, and there's a few locations. So we worked with Lumens. Lumens has since provided documentation to us and to the contractor as to where they didn't meet their work plan. Lumens is out this week correcting those locations. So hopefully we'll get back to our normal production after this week. The DBE percentage, we're tracking that on, I think it was originally a 16%, or no, I'm sorry, 12%. And we are tracking that. There's a lot of trucking involved with that, and with us just starting our grading. We're just starting to get a lot of that DBE trucking in. So we're where we would expect. So there's nothing that any alarms on the north end. The next job is the county line. Tonight, we are shifting the northbound lanes over to their outside lanes that we just finished paving. And then early next week, we shift southbound onto the new northbound. And then we will finish paving the southbound lanes. We'd already paved 2 of the 6 lanes last winter, so we have to finish paving the other lanes, and they've already got half of that trimmed and graded. So that should only take about 3 weeks of concrete paving, and we should have the county line on southbound. In addition to the main line, we're working on Port Washington Road. We've got to finish a lot of the landscaping and a lot of the stuff along the edge. Also, there's the county line bridge. They demoed that in January. They are finishing the piers and the abutments this week, and we are hoping the end of next week or the week of May 8th to be setting the girders. So we're on track for county line to be completed. And then because we didn't demo the bridge at county line till January, there's a segment of pavement under county line that has to get completed. So once we finish southbound paving, we will finally be able to get to that last little piece of the main line under county line. So we're on track to be completed here by the end of summer. And again, county line was a 16%, and we are tracking on progress for that with our DBE payments. We still have quite a bit of work to do for 3 months though, so we'll continue to track that. For the south leg, that was just last year. We just started in earnest in March. However, we've done a ton of work. The UPR Railroad, we have done all the clearing and garbing along the UPR Railroad. We are setting the bench for the drilled shafts for Malcolm to be coming in starting in a week. The Hoffman has been working on the embankment of the UPR Railroad. We've had some inefficiencies there. We are doing a lot of that UPR Railroad, which is right in the neighborhood. We're doing that at night, and they just can't get their fill material to pass. So they've tried a couple of times now. They're submitting a new material to UPR Railroad, so there's some delay. The UPR Railroad's not real quick, so there's some loss in efficiency there.
Jay, what's the DBE percentage then on that one?
16%.
Okay.
So, and
can you go over the magnitudes of each one of the projects then? So, Highland, 12% of what was that? You don't have to be exact, but what was that job?
So north, I don't have all the numbers and switching between here, but 12% commitment. So that makes our DBE is about 12.2 million. So, and we've paid to date just under 8 million.
So it was $100 million project there, and then the county.
I think it was don't quote me, like 105, 106, something like that. So
Yep.
And then county line is 16%, and it was about a $50 million let. So 16%, it was about if my numbers are right, about $6.2 million, and we've paid just under $4 million to date. So.
And then the southern project
is help me out, David. It was 200 million, right? So we're at 16%. So we're just under 32 million is the DB commitment, and we've only paid $1 million to date on that.
So incredible commitments there for the future on that. Madalena, go ahead. You had a question.
Sure. I just wanted to note that when I go over these projects more in depth, I'll break it down in the work types, and you'll see some different numbers for achievement because we're tracking it in
Yeah.
live time. So just so if anyone's looking at the PDF and then hearing like 16% and seeing 19%, I just want to explain up front that that both are true. And I'll give you more of an update as I get into it. Okay, thanks.
So
That's awesome,
Madalena, Madalena, will you talk about like, what type of work other than trucking is being done on these projects?
Yes, if you look at the PDF that Christina sent this morning, you'll see those work types broken down.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks. Sorry to interrupt you, Jay.
Oh, no, that's
Oh,
good.
you guys, that's perfect. In the south leg, it has creeped up a little bit from the DB. Hoffman is the prime contractor. They've brought in some trucking companies recently, so it's gone up a little bit. So again, these numbers we're looking at are a few weeks old, so they've come in the last few weeks. So to finish south leg, besides the UPR Railroad, we have to widen Port Washington to get out of the way because of that's where the future I-43 northbound will go. So we've already done a lot of the utilities and all the clearing and grubbing. So we are already grading for the new permanent northbound Port Washington Road. So we hope to be making that shift by the summer, because then that will clear up so we'll be able to attack I-43s northbound. From UPR Railroad to the south, we've had to do some temporary widening of Port Washington Road, access to the piers of the UPR Railroad. So even though we're losing some efficiencies with the embankment at the UPR Railroad, we're hoping that by Malcolm working on the abutments and by the Lunda working on the piers, we'll be able to make up some of that progress here in the next couple of months. In addition to Port Washington Road and UPR Railroad, we're also working on southbound temporary widening, and that work is done all at night. Just because of you got to close a lane to get good access to get into that southbound. It's a busy stretch of road, so it's all at night. And again, our goal is to get that southbound widened and then shift traffic over onto that southbound sometime this summer. So,
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Hey,
so
hey, Jay, can I
thank
ask
you.
a question out of curiosity? This is Tim from NAMAC. Thank you so much for the updates. Just
Yep.
the bridge right there at Good Hope and 43. What's happened to that, as well as where the Nicolay High School is? I see that the football field and stuff like that has been, torn up. Is part of the school going to be knocked down for that too? Or how is that going to play in that 43 construction?
Excellent question. The two things I didn't mention on South Leg. We are widening Good Hope and Brown Deer roads, so the bridge is over. So thank you very much. So yes, we're widening those. We're going to be able to keep those interchanges active. There will be some 30-day closures of the ramps, but the bridge will stay. We've taken the concrete median islands out just to be able to put traffic and move it around to widen them better. So that is ongoing as well. And what you see by the football fields by Nicolay High School, that is actually their athletic fields being redone. So they're so close to Port Washington Road there, that's actually a whole separate work zone than the DOT. But it lines up with Good Hope. You would think it's like our on-ramp or our part of ours. But yeah, it's a whole nother separate. So no, that's an excellent question. And we actually get asked that quite a bit, like, what are you doing at Nicolay High School? So
Right.
But-
Gotcha. One final question. And the entirety of the road construction 43 is scheduled through the end of 2025 or 2026?
yes, so County Line and North End, County Line will end this year. The North End we will finish next spring. But then the Mequon Road interchange that gets let in July, and this south segment goes until the summer of 25. Mequon will probably be doing the last of the line landscaping in 25. And then for the south leg, we'll probably have the lanes open, but we have some things like overlays and some pavement marking and stuff like that we'll probably be doing into the summer of 25. So
Got it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's we'll talk through some opportunities with Jeff Bowen very quickly, Jeff, and then we'll get to Dub. Thanks.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So just want to talk about our 894 upcoming project real quick. We tried to let this project back in February, and there was some things that came along and some high costs perhaps that we did not execute that contract. So we are going to relet it coming up in July. This is 894 from 84th Street to 35th Street, kind of the east-west portion on the south side of the loop. It also includes the Loomis Road Bridge. So we're going to be base patching and resurfacing 894 as well as reconstructing that bridge at Loomis over 894. I think I said it already, but it's about $60 million in LEC costs. I see an error here, Magdalena, but I'll fix it. We've got a 10% goal right now, and I think we can make that to, we could switch that over to dollars. I just saw that, so we'll fix that. Some of the items that we're talking about, asphaltic surface milling. I don't know if that's a DBE opportunity, but perhaps. Certainly the structures, retaining walls, curb and gutter, sidewalk, storm sewer, beam guard, erosion control, signing. I'm going through these real fast, but sign structures, traffic control, pavement marking, you know, we've got a lot of opportunity, I think, on this project. Lighting, FTMS, signals. So I think there's options there for DBE folks. I think that's all I've got in my notes. Anything else you guys wanted me to touch on? I went through that real fast.
That's good. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. All right.
What'd you say the goal was, Jeff? 10%?
10%, so about $6 million, plus or minus.
Thank you.
So a little bit different project, right? This is our backbone program. This is keeping our roads in a state of good repair until we can actually reconstruct, like David's, Majors, and the Zoo interchange. So this is a little bit different, but still a lot of opportunity. This is the bypass, and if everybody who's driven the bypass, you know it's well overdue. So Deb Evers.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm working with two screens here, so I'm going to skip the camera just so I can get you all the data you need. But we are starting to work on putting together our data for the 2023 construction fair, and it's looking like we're going to have in excess of 60 packages in the construction fair. So anything ranging from small, local bridge replacements all the way up to backbone resurfacing projects. And just want to reiterate that if firms are looking to be considered for prime opportunities, they do need to participate in the construction fair. It's typically mid to late September, so keep an eye out for that. If you just intend to be a sub, that's okay. You do not have to participate in the fair. And also, if you want to be selected as for addenda projects, you also need to have participated in the fair. So that's just an important point to note. A couple interesting projects I'm seeing on here. We've got in the city of Milwaukee, Howard Avenue.
Are you
Hello.
are you sharing anything, or are you just talking?
No, because it's got some data on there that we shouldn't be sharing.
Okay.
But yes,
Yep.
but as we refine this info, Bob, we'll put together a nice presentation we can share with everybody. Like I said, we're pretty early in this process, but I'm just seeing a Howard Avenue project here, 6th Street to Clement Avenue, nice sized construction project that's going to be out there. And we've also got the Cherry Street Bridge over the Milwaukee River. That's going to be let in March. So very nice opportunities that are going to come out in the construction fair. And Jeff Bowen, feel free to hop in here. We are looking to get the I-94 East-West final design out on the street for solicitation in June. So that will be an interview project. So interviews for that will be on June 28th. And you will see that preview come out on the web on May 17th. So lots of opportunities. There's PI, there's structures, roadway design, of course, traffic control, drainage. Jeff, and we're looking at kind of mixing things up and finding some ways to provide some opportunities for lots of different firms. So Jeff or Bob, anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is Jeff. You're exactly right, Deb. There's going to be opportunities for smaller design packages, projects. as well as much larger projects. So a wide variety of stuff from local streets to, you know, freeway work. So in design, so opportunities there as well. Yep.
Yeah, and Madalena, are you going to touch on mentor protege at all in this meeting?
I can mention it. I won't get too far in depth in it. If you
Okay,
have
yep.
something you wanted to mention, you
Nope,
can
I
for
was just
sure.
gonna
Okay.
say for folks to keep an eye out, all the solicitations through the remainder of the year. We do have quite a few design projects that will be coming out as we go forward into the next fiscal year. So keep an opportunity because I think keep an eye out for those because those should be some nice perhaps mentor protege opportunities. So that's all I had. Any questions?
Yeah. Hey, Deb, is there a goal on the design for the I-94 East-West? Is
East-West,
there?
we are
we-
working closely with Madalena and Benji on that, Ruben. So stay
Okay.
tuned.
Yes, I have a question, please, Deb. On the east-west, you said there will be some smaller design opportunities on that. Could you give an examples of how that might be taking place? What areas or what types of projects?
Good question, Bruce. And Jeff, feel free to jump in. We haven't determined quite how small yet, right, Jeff? But we're trying to look to see what projects could be broken out. And that's kind of where we're at right now, right, Jeff? Do you want to add anything to that?
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna have, I think I can say confidently, we're gonna have some off freeway work, some local road type of design, possibly some mitigation type of work. It might be intersections, beefing up, you know, type of work for, I'll say, detour routes. So when we get to the big projects, you know, we've got those detour routes set up properly. So there might be signal work. Again, intersection work, local, I'll say off interstate work. And then there's always bits and pieces of those bigger projects too, with traffic control structures, both bridges and walls. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Traffic control operation, you know, there should be a lot of opportunity there. Does that help,
Okay.
Bruce?
Yes, it does. Will those also be in the June solicitation?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So there'll be breakout contracts. They won't be subcontracts on the I-94 East-West, but there'll be separate small contracts.
Ruben, there would be both.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. There would be, in my mind, opportunity for a DBE to lead a smaller opportunity, you know, a smaller project, or jump on board with someone on a bigger one.
Thank you.
Or lead a bigger one if they so choose.
Sure.
Well, thank you. Madalena, that's our Southeast region update. I appreciate, yeah, you taking, and listening through some of the construction staging and things. I think it's actually really important that we share that kind of with you, so you kind of get a good understanding of the work and the complexity and things that are going on out there. And then just sparking your mind on what type of opportunities could exist beyond trucking, right, Ruben? So
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Southeast team. We appreciate your time and being here and support for the program. So thanks for those project overviews. I will share my screen. Once I do that, I can't see if there are questions or anything. So maybe
I'll let you know, Madalena.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I thought I had it up.
There you go.
Okay, I know I take every opportunity to show pictures of those kids, right? Okay, so Christina sent on my behalf the PDF out to you because some of this data is real tiny and it's hard to look at it and follow the lines. So you'll know what I mean as I get into the next slides. But I wanted to give you updates on where we were at with the projects we've been tracking, 2050, the zoo, and then bringing 43 in. So this is the consulting piece. There was not a goal set on this project, but we have achieved 15.12% of that contract in DBE participation. There was a goal on the construction side here of 20 for 15%. We've been working with different ways to break up this data so that you can see it more visually. So you see here, Native Americans have 53% of this work, which is important to note. At the 15% goal, you know, we're at 32.94% of that total contract. So that's very significant. 30% non-minority, the parenthesis is the number of contracts. Black Americans had 5 projects, which is 10%, Hispanic Americans 4%. 4 projects with 7%. So the next slide here, this is not too tricky. When we get into the other projects, it gets a little more difficult, but here's where you can see where is the breakdown here in the work types. And our numbers end up a bit different from the region, as I was saying, because as we track in live time, we're picking up any commitment that we see that comes in through CRCS, and we track it there and track the payments, and we use that as part of our federal reporting. So, so those numbers daily we are adjusting. So this is a representation of where those projects break out. You can see there is trucking, but also traffic control, saw cutting, sewer, electrical. These are pretty typical work types for DBEs. When we look at Highway 50, also had a 15% goal. Oh, sorry, though, this is on the consulting side. And so we did not have a goal set, but achieved almost 18% of that project. You can see the breakout here. Non-minority with 50% of that contract. 2 contracts there, 1 for subcontinent Asian American, 1 for Black Americans. So that you can see those will, if they grow through amendment, we would have an update there on additional funds added. When we look at the construction side, here's where we had 15%. There's a current 27.1% achieved here with those modifications. And you can see the various breakdown here per group and number of contracts parenthetically. As we look at the work breakdown here, oh, I guess it's not that hard to see. So if it's showing clearly like this on your computer, I hope your screen will show you.
It looks pretty good.
Okay, good. So, you know, this this blue hopefully is showing you that we're talking about this blue. So here's where the Native American contract is the biggest, but they've also got saw cutting, also have sewer. This individual here, there's a little trucking. And individual, when you see that, individual male is that they do not fit into one of the ethnic groups, but have another reason that they have been able to demonstrate social and economic disadvantage and are approved for that reason. So there's 1 contract. Hispanic Americans had quite a bit of trucking, male and female. Multiple contracts. So parenthetically again there, you'll see the number of contracts for each. Non-minority female on sewer here, that's a big amount. It's hard to see down here, but you do have the amounts that go up in millions. And so that's around 8 million, I think, as we look down there. So, you know, I think this is demonstrating that there are quite a few of the groups demographically represented here in different types of work.
Madalena, can I stop you for a second? Bruce
Yes.
Van had his hand up and then he took it down, so I'm not sure if he still has a question.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did still have a question. For example, on this Highway 50 project for consultants doing construction, engineering, inspection, does that fall under consulting or does that fall under construction, or is that yet to be discussed?
It would fall under consulting.
Okay.
So where we see consultants in construction is more for staking or material testing, for example, and then we would see that on the construction side. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Madalena, can you adjust your slide so you can see the horizontal grid that shows the dollar amount? Is there a way that you can move it up some? If not, that's fine.
I don't think so, sorry.
Okay.
Each of these lines, this starts at 4 million. So
Okay.
4, 5, 6, I think. No, let's see. Sorry, I can't
Okay,
actually
no problem.
see it.
Yeah.
4, I think
And
that's 4.
Madalena, I had a
Yes.
question for you too.
Yes.
This is
Is that Dr.
Dr. Rob.
Robbins?
It is. You
Hey.
hello everyone. Can you give us a reason why someone that is not DBE would qualify as DBE?
Sure, yep, it depends on their circumstances. The main reason we give that FHWA gives out as part of their training is an example where someone may have not had access to education. So for instance, someone who grew up in a part of Appalachia, white male, did not have access to education and can demonstrate that that has now impacted his ability to get loans, for instance, get insurance,
Okay.
run a business effectively. So it's a pretty stringent test to fit that other category. And we also have, 4 certifiers within our UCP. So while we all have the same standards, it may be that this is a firm that is also certified by another of our partners, and then I have less information on that
Okay.
firm.
All right. Thank you for that
Mhm.
clarification.
Sure, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. I think there may be 3 DBs on the directory that would fit that. But I like to point it out because I think people wonder what is other or individual. Okay, so this is 50. Thanks for the questions. If we look at the zoo, we also had a 15% goal. Oh, sorry, I keep seeing I keep going over the construction when I hit the consulting. Okay, so consulting, while it did not have a goal, did achieve 11% of this total consulting contract, 40% Black American, and 60% non-minority. I believe this is mostly in public information. So that outreach piece that we do, quite a bit in the Southeast region, other regions as well, but this is always a focus on these big projects. And looking at construction here, achievement, we are tracking at a bit over 19% now of the zoo as it heads into closeout. That had a 15% construction goal as well. You can see the breakout here of the demographics and the number of contracts.
So this is just for the North Leg, Madalena?
That's right.
Okay.
And so here, and on the other side, it's looking like, subcontinent Asian Americans, they're showing there on the side at 0%. It's not really 0%, but because this, they're represented, but their contract compared to the bigger is under a 1% and doesn't register on the graph there. So that was trucking. You can see the other areas, sewer. Native American has a lot of concrete work. I think this is Aerocrete. I saw Ann on the line here. So you can see that there are multiple types of work and opportunities for DBs on these projects, and how this splits up amongst those types of opportunities. If anyone has a suggestion for us on a better way to represent this information, please let me know. I know it's a little bit hard to look at, but I think graphically maybe gives you a better idea of what's happening than I just give you a number or a dollar amount.
Madalena, this is a great way to look at this information in a transparent form. And one of the things that it shows is that, Black Americans are severely underrepresented, on those projects in Milwaukee. But I mean, this is a great way to show the data.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Open to more suggestion too, like I said. And then we move on to 43, which is new for us presenting here for this demographic information. So that was a 12% goal, a bit over 15% right now. And this is a portion of 43 because it had so many pieces. So if you have questions about this piece, then Benji will be talking in a minute, and she's a good person to ask. So here are split at 59% is non-minority. We'll look at what those job types are. Native American with 8 contracts there, 28%. Black American at 1%, Asian Pacific American, 4%, Hispanic American with those 74 contracts, there would be a lot of trucking in there. And so we see a bit more of that here. And I'm not sure if the PDF actually does show the actual dollar amount at the bottom. If not, I can add that back in. There's a cutoff on the slide, and I think we ran into that on a couple of these. So again, breakdown here. My eye is always drawn to where those longer bars are. So we see a bulk of the work here is on concrete work and storm sewer. Some decent work here on erosion control. And then these other groups, which I have noted as I've shared data over the years here, that we see the Asian Pacific American group growing in the work that they do, work types, as well as commitments received. And so we're seeing that as positive growth there, as well as Hispanic American females having many more commitments as well. So I think that may be my last slide. It is. Before I close this out, are there any questions anybody had on a slide or a project that you'd want me to go back to? No? Okay.
No.
Okay. So maybe Benji can give her update on our overall goal achievement, and then I will come back and just talk to you a little bit about our overall annual goal setting. Are you good, Benji?
I am. I'm just trying to get my cursor to get my screen. You guys can see this. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So again, these numbers are a little hard to read, but I want to give you our DBE attainment through yesterday, April 26th. We have our consultant numbers through the end of March and our contractor numbers through yesterday, the 26th. Right now, on the construction side, we've had about $952.5 million in contract awarded dollars. We have, of that, $688.7 million is Fed funded. We've had 210 contracts. And right now for assigned DBE participation, we've achieved $60.7 million. And our total commitment for the months of October, November, December, January, February, March, and April. March is our first half, but we've included April here, is $75 million, which means we have neutral participation and commitments of $14.3 million, which is great. On our consultant side, we have about $77.2 million of federally funded contracts that have already been awarded. We're
Benji,
looking, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but could you zoom in just so that the box with the yellow overall funding, just so because I think that can be legible if we if you zoom
Sure.
in a little, and then they'll be able to see those
Absolutely.
numbers. Oh, thank you.
Is this better?
It is better. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for letting me know.
Sure.
So between Fed funds for consultants and construction year to date, we've got about $766 million in contracts amount. And for our consulting side, we have already $13.2 million. We've projected on the consultant side, there's going to be about 19.6 million in anticipated goal. And for our construction side, as with our commitments that have been modified after execution and the addition there, we have 11,770,000 after execution modifications on the construction side. So that's great. And we really appreciate the efforts with the primes and the DBEs on the construction side to do that. So our total construction commitments to date are 86.8 million, and which gets us to right now we're at 13.06% for the first quarter plus 1 month, or I'm sorry, first half plus 1 month, and so we are meeting our goal of 12.41%, and we're a little bit over, and we hope and anticipate that's going to be carried throughout the remainder of this fiscal year. And then down here real quick, I just want to show you for the construction modifications, each month, Maria Rojas and her team go through the DBE commitment modifications. So far, they've reviewed 716 and 45 are still under review. To review, they've processed, they've signed, and it's so far this year, they've already approved 366 for a total of $11.7 billion in after execution commitments to DBEs. Any questions on this?
Okay, I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Benji.
Thank you.
Appreciate that update. We'd like you to know where we're going. These projects that I share, the commitment on is a piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
That gets us there, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of overall goal setting. Just to do some basic. Where are we on time? Okay. I just want to give you an idea of the methodology that we look at as we start going into our overall annual goal setting. So the information that we were sharing with you on the projects here in the region relate to our goals set at the project level. And that is also when we do set goals at the project level for consulting, those goals are working towards meeting our overall goal. Now, what we want to be able to do is meet our goal with as little assigned participation as possible. So that means that we would like to minimize our need to set a goal because the playing field is being leveled, right? That's DBs are being used and they do not have to be. So that's where we're heading.
Madalena, can I interrupt you for a
Sure.
question?
Yes. You had a question?
Mr. Anderson has a question. John.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I apologize. Hopefully, I didn't miss it. If it came up, my question or curiosity is centered around the utilization of the trainees, trans, which we are now referring to as the Highway Construction Skills Training Program. Is there anything centered around how the DBEs are utilizing and hiring and taking on those graduates? Are we tracking that?
I'm not sure how we do that specifically because I think all of that tracking happens through prime utilization of DBs, but Alex Smith can answer that. He'll give a labor update here in a few minutes, and
Cool.
so he can. Alec, please do that.
All right, thanks, you.
John. Okay. So quickly, because I want to be able to get over to Alex so he can do that labor update. Just letting you know here that there is an evolved process as we go into our overall annual goal setting. We initially need to come up with a head count. You hear that referred to as a base figure, or you'll hear RWA, that's ready, willing, and able. So we need to establish what we think is a realistic percentage of DBEs that could participate on heavy highway projects, and that would be in consulting and construction. So that's determined in our step one analysis. And then when we get into step 2, we adjust. So we would look at past participation. How did we do achieving our goals over the last 5 years? What effects might decertification of DBEs have? So as a bigger firm perhaps exceeds the limits in place for becoming a DBE, they leave the program. Now that leaves a gap for us potentially. So how do we factor that in when we look at that overall goal attainment? And that becomes particularly important based on the type of projects and work types we have coming up in the triennial. So what DBEs do we have to perform on the types of work that we have coming up? So we'll make adjustments there as needed to that initial base figure. And then we will also evaluate how much of the goal to assign versus how much would we get through neutral means. So as I was saying, we want to get to a place where we are setting fewer goals and DBs are being utilized without the requirement to use them per se, but because they're good partners on projects and primes want to work with them. And also there are increased opportunities for DBs to prime themselves. And so those are certainly areas we are supporting. In step 4, we get public participation. So that's part of what I'm doing right now, just in letting you know that, this is the process we are working on. We will need to submit our final report in July to FHWA, and then it starts to be evaluated in August. The purpose is to get a new goal in place for the triennial in federal fiscal year 24, which will begin in October. So we'll get participation from you, feedback, your thoughts on discrimination effects on heavy highway contracting in general. And then as we move forward, potentially on our draft plan as well, we will have a survey up on our web pages soon. So you'll be able to just click right there, submit your opinion. We also ask that our trade associations or our professional associations do ask for meetings with us. If you would like to meet with us separately outside of stakeholder meetings, we are happy to do that. And taking that feedback in, we do make an adjustment as needed. So just kind of in snapshot there, wanted to make sure you know that this process is underway, and your feedback is important to us.
Madalena, can you give the group a perspective about over the last maybe 2-3 years what the statewide goal has been for the DBE?
Yes, so 12.41% is our overall annual goal. And so when Benji was showing those slides there, I know it was hard to see it was a little bit hard to see, but the 13.06 is putting together the consultant and construction pieces to show towards our overall annual goal. We are now exceeding that. And we did so for the last 2 years. We believe we'll hit that goal again this year. And so that means the triennial was successful in terms of our overall goal achievement. Okay. Thank you, Ruben. Any other questions for me? Okay, seeing none, then I would like to move over to Alex Smith, please, to give us an update on the labor utilization in Southeast region. Alec?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
There you are.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Hello.
Thanks.
I would share my camera, but just to save some bandwidth today, I'm not going to. But I am going to share my screen for us today. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
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 Excellent. Again, good morning, everybody. Here to give you an update on the labor report for the reporting period here. This is just a snapshot of what we have for the reporting period, as it says, from the first of the year just until March 31st. So I know we talked about the zoo interchange previously, and I'm going to talk about the highlighted numbers in this report, but more of those detailed numbers are below the highlighted numbers And I'll be sure to pass on this report to make sure that it gets distributed out to all those who'd like to see it. But just to go over some of the zoo interchange numbers here, some slight changes from the last report. Total number of employees, we have 1,233. And that minority, total number of minorities is at 27% of total project workers, or just about 338 workers. Again, more specific demographic data is below that for your reference. Moving down to total number of females on the project, we have 22, or just about 1% of total project workers. Moving further down, trans graduates, I probably should rephrase that as the trans program has been renamed. But we have 3 graduates on the project, and they are recorded total hours as of, again, March 31st is 170.25 hours for that zoo interchange project. Moving down now to the State Highway 50 project, Kenosha, Pleasant Prairie. Total number of employees on the project as of March 31st, 1,049. Total number of minority workers on the project, 445, or just about 42% of the total. Going down to total number of females on the project, we have 31, or just over 2%. And again, going down to total number of trans graduates here, we have 5 graduates recorded as doing work on this project, and their total number of work hours as of March 31st, 466.5 hours. Lastly, coming down here, State Highway 10, Washington Avenue. It's in the city of Racine. I do not believe there's been any updates or changes to this project from the last report, but just to go over it for everybody again, as of March 31st, we have 382 total employees on the project. Total number of minority workers is 178, or just about 46%. Again, that specific demographic data is below that for reference. Total number of female employees on the project, 12, or just about 3%. And then again, lastly, to close out, total trans graduates doing work on this project is 3, and they've logged a total of 219.25 hours. I went through that a little fast, but I want to leave time if there are any questions or comments about the report here today.
So this is John. I have 2 questions, and it might be something that needs to be added for the future, but I don't know if you know the answer. So as it relates to ASP1 and ASP 1.1, which I guess would probably be the first project, because I know those have to, I think, be related to the Milwaukee type projects. One, do you know, has that been utilized? Has it had an impact of any sort? And 2, of the 13 apprentices that I'm sorry, trans graduates, how many of those do you know are journey level workers or apprentices? Do we have that kind of information on them?
I don't have that information on me, but that is certainly something that we can find out for those 13 trans graduates. Regarding the project that has ASP 1.1, some of you may have also known that as the Voluntary Incentive Pilot. That project, I believe it just had its pre-construction meeting just this week, and so it's still a little early. Is that I think that's the Brown Deer project in the city of Milwaukee there. They just had their pre-construction meeting earlier this week, and so it's a little early yet to get data from that, but that is definitely something we can make a note for the next labor data report, is to see break down that data for us on that Brown Deer project.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Just knowing how many of our highway construction skills training graduates, the new name, I used it, are, being brought on as apprentices or journey level workers. That would be just good. I know I'd like to know that, and I'm not sure if any other people would benefit from that, but I love the demographics breakdown, the number of females, and knowing what their classifications are would be helpful, at least from my side of the fence. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Alec, looks like we have a question from Bruce Span.
Yes.
Yes, thanks. Actually, I wanted to ask John while he's on our group here. Are there trans graduates that are interested in doing construction, engineering, inspection type work, or are they trained to be builders, contractors?
Wow. So I don't think that has been put forward to them that to get on the engineering side is an opportunity. So I think I would say yes, there are trans graduates who would be interested if we could bring that opportunity forward to them. I know that as far as of a technical side, with Walbeck, we've had a few trans grads who were placed as QC techs, but I've yet to have anyone preface engineering. So I would say yes on their behalf, but I'd like to know how we can make that connection.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, can I add to that? Later today, we'll be hearing in our breakout group from Joe Davis from the Construction Business Group, and he's doing that type of thing with trades workers. And so, anyway, just thought it'd be an opportunity to mention that.
And I had a question as well. One, I appreciate the labor statistics and the demographic breakdown as well. I also would be interested in to know how many people applied for the positions. And this will give us a way to see if we need to increase the applicant pool.
Yeah, we wouldn't handle who is applying. That would be contractor by contractor. We only recognize where they're working. Our system tracks people that are entered into the system as being a grad, and where we are providing that $5 incentive program. A lot of the information is voluntarily provided in other areas where someone may re-enter. So it's hard to grasp all of the number of workers that could be graduates. We try to do the best we can to collect that information and work with the service providers. But once they're out of the training, it's really up to those hiring to determine who and where and how many of those would be hired.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions about the labor data report? Thank you all for the great questions.
Looks like
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Alec.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw Daniel Webster pop on there for a second, so I thought, oh, I don't know if you had a question or comment you wanted to add there. No?
No, so I don't know if a lot of people know, but I was a trans graduate in 2014, worked at Mega Rental, setting up traffic control on a lot of heavy highway construction projects. I've been with Walbeck Group now for about 5.5 years. Came out of the field, started working as an HR business partner here at Walbeck Group, was in that capacity for 5 years, and just recently transitioned into a director of diversity and inclusion role for our organization. So one of the things that we're doing as a contractor, when I'm interfacing with trans or big step students, and especially with them being on campus right now, I'm starting to talk to them about walking across campus and learning about some of these engineering programs, right? Or surveying, because there's a shortage of surveyors throughout the industry. And so people can really get that field experience and start to think about creating a career path for themselves as well. So we're, at least myself, we're having more intentional conversations about how to move and looking just beyond level entry field positions.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important to be seeing how those connections come together, and to see how, you started in, which is now Hixty. I'm not sure how you pronounce HCST, but starting in that program that really did, was that sort of impetus or maybe catalyst for you to go further, and now bringing those opportunities to other people. All right, thanks for adding that. So I think we're ready to go into our breakout sessions. Are we ready, Christina?
I just have one person who called in.
Sorry?
I just have one person who called in and they will not be put into the room because it doesn't allow you to
Okay.
assign somebody that's just a phone number. So
Okay, we're sorry, 319.
yeah, I mean, I will try. See
Okay.
if it works, but if not, that's why.
All right, thank you. See you all in our groups. It'll be good to share this. The focus here is on construction development. However, small business pieces of those courses are applicable to all of our small businesses. So we would certainly encourage any DBE to be considering these courses going through Joe. But I want to make sure that I give enough time for him to talk. So I'll stop. Joe, are you here and ready?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay. I hear you. Thanks for
All
being
right.
here.
And I'm just going to share my screen periodically so y'all don't think that this is artificial intelligence that's giving you this particular presentation. So I'm going to mute my screen. But I will say on camera, the only reason why I'm here is because Dr. Ruben Anthony threatened me that he would not make any of his beef brisket for me. And anybody knows that his beef brisket is to die for. So I wasn't going to miss that, okay?
Okay. Good call.
Smart.
No, thanks for this opportunity. And let me just get my stuff all squared away and just make sure that my screen is being shared. So we can start off on a good note. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great.
Perfect.
So, thanks for the interest in the Construction Business Group's Disadvantaged Business Development Initiative. It is a partnership between WisDOT, our good partners, WTBA, the Wisconsin Transportation Business Association, Builders Association, and Operating Engineers, Local 139. And how it all came about is because this whole Wisconsin Transportation Employer Council actually, through negotiations, actually signed an agreement. They decided to put their money aside and fund an initiative to deal with the lack of achievement. It wasn't just Wisconsin, it was a nationwide issue. But FHWA, as Madalena knows, and she and I have had various conversations about this on meeting the goals. The industry, specifically WTBA and Local 139, indicated that they didn't want to complain about it. They wanted to comply. So they actually requested that the Construction Business Group leads this effort to build capacity in DBEs and work with WisDOT to see if we can increase that pipeline. So I'll give this disclosure for the masterclass. The masterclass, we don't recruit folks. I mean, we don't go out there and try to look at numbers. Our whole focus is to build capacity in business owners so that, and we don't question if they can go out and do the work, but what we do want to make sure is that they're able to monitor the cash flow, specifically as it is in business, because we need some type of sustainability so that, with all of this federal money coming into the industry, that it's not just one and done. And, those who have been in this space understand that liquidated damages can actually kill you in this business because the profit margins are so low. And that's what we try to prevent for DBEs, to make sure that they understand that there's another aspect of being a DBE or a subcontractor, not just going out and performing the work, but also monitoring how good of a business you are, so that, one of the courses we have, and I'll share it with you, business law and employment law. It's important for them to understand what the framework is in order for them to continue to move forward as a subcontractor. And eventually, hopefully, they'll build capacity if they monitor the cash flow the right way to actually become a prime contractor, like we just heard on the 94 leg, to be a prime contractor, and then bring subcontractors underneath their belt. So we have a couple of partnerships that we have, and the whole masterclass is designed around this partnership. And that is the Small Business Development Center and the Capital Access Program, or the Capital Access Clinic. What we do is, as DBEs, I have a conversation and I go out and interview the DBE and find out if they have that fire in their belly, if this is something that they want to do, or if it's just a cliche, or if it's just a fad that they're saying, okay, I'll try to be a subcontractor in the heavy highway industry. You ain't gonna cut it in this industry if you got that type of attitude. You have to come in this business saying that you want to become a DBE, you want to become better, and you want to make money, because that money you can reinvest into your business in order for sustainability. So what we do with the Capital Access Clinic, they put together financial projections and also business plans. We get them ready to be bankable. And then now currently we're working with Community Development Financial Institutions, or CDFI. One of our clients has just secured his first loan, where he's ramping up his equipment. And that was a pretty good one, whereas he's getting a $250,000 loan with $125,000 grant in that 125. So now he only has debt for 125,000. Bay Bank and U.S. Bank are currently right now our financial partners. Bay Bank, as you know, is a Native American bank, and U.S. Bank is a statewide bank. And Rachel Smith has been real good on working with us. The other thing that we've been doing with the masterclass graduates, we launched the masterclass in January. We already have 11 graduates, and we have 20 clients still enrolled in the masterclass. And we picked up 3 clients as we were up in the Northwest Opportunities, a partnership between WEDC, WisDOT, and Department of Workforce Development. We were in Eau Claire, Hayward, and Superior, and we were able to really substantiate the concern that I think the industry has on the lack of DBEs up in that area. But I will also say, when there's a concern, there's opportunities. So those who have the capacity, I would strongly recommend that they consider, just like all of the other larger prime contractors that are 4th and 5th generation, to take a look at the whole state of Wisconsin as their playing ground, and not just stay in one particular region. Last, I'll wrap this thing up, is that I've been invited to the Oneida Reservation, Potawatomi, Stockbridge, Muncie, Bantam, Mohegan, Menominee, and Lakota Ray just recently. All of them are interested in seeing how Native Americans, and that's probably the reason why you see the growth of Native Americans. They understand that this is an opportunity not only for them to provide services on the reservation, but offside the reservation that would help close that gap in northern Wisconsin from Green Bay all the way to Eau Claire. And then finally, the CBG conference. We just recently had a conversation with WisDOT on a partnership on how we move forward. I'm putting that together. It'll be up in the Wisconsin Dells. And Tim, if I know you're in a call, just as always, we're going to reach out to NAMAC and see if NAMAC wants to participate in some type of frame or however you like to do that, because it's important that CBG is in this space, not because we want to be in competition with anybody, but we want to actually create a collaborative spirit, or a collaborative ecosystem, so that at the end of the day, when people leave organizations, there's an infrastructure still in place, so that we can continue to grow the industry. So I'll wrap. Last thing I'd say is that the masterclass came about because my experience with the United Association of the Plumbing and Pipe Fitting Industry as an international instructor. When I first came to CBG, and Terry McGowan and Rob Call asked me to create this Disadvantaged Business Development Initiative, one thing I told them is that, it's important for us to put together a vehicle so that we can actually transfer knowledge. And the only way that you can do that is to find out if there's a change of behavior when you transfer the knowledge. And that's what we're looking for in DBEs, is that, are they going to change their behavior and how they interact with the industry, interact with the primes, and monitor the cash flow to be that much more better as a subcontractor. And great to say that we got trucking firms now reaching out to us, owner-operator trucking firms that want to take advantage of the masterclass. So I always start off the masterclass by showing this video. Those of you who are on the call who don't know about the construction group, hopefully, and the sound of the sound is available. I'd like to show this 2-minute video.
This was a wonderful gateway for us to try to expand and broaden the operating engineers. This was a way to break walls down. And so between the road builders and ourselves, we found a way to fund the program. Then we searched out an organization by which we would be able to run this. And Construction Business Group was a perfect fit.
One of the most exciting things that Construction Business Group has done with the DBE Development Initiative is make the connection between workforce development and DBE development.
We've got great general contractors that have been more than willing as partners. When you think of the Wallback Group, Michaels, Matthew, names everybody's going to recognize out there that have been reaching out to us, asking how can I be a partner with this and grow this part of the industry.
What I really like about the CBG program is that it offers contractors skills and the exposure to experts and expertise to become successful businessmen in this very challenging marketplace.
So my role working with the DBE clients is to ensure they are ready and able to apply for funding. So we work very closely with CBG when referring clients back and forth with each other. We allow them to work on financial projections and business plans, so then when they go talk to lenders, they're ready to have those conversations.
The first year I started the DBE program, I wasn't really aware of CBG. Went on my own and started my own contracting business in land restoration. Started small, and then once I connected with CBG, we're able to scale up and then take it to the next level.
We like the partnership that we have with Construction Business Group because they also help us find that next group to bring into our membership. So we've been working heavily with them and they help that. They come up here at the training site and work with the apprentices also. What we have is 400 acres and an indoor arena where the members throughout the state of Wisconsin come and they do their training at the winter time and during the summer for any of their continuing education classes or apprenticeship classes. What we have access to is dozers, excavators, graders, cranes, asphalt pavers, concrete breakers, and all that they can go through along with the OSHA, MSHA, HAZMAT, and different other certifications.
It's really about mentoring, and it's really about creating this ecosystem of support, because this is a very difficult industry and it's relationship driven. And so my relationship with prime contractors and also with the DBEs and also with WisDOT, I'm able to be that liaison so that it's a well-oiled machine that continues to support the federal regulations of, participation with DBEs.
Yeah, we're here to help. We don't charge for our services. It's funded by the operating engineers and WTBA, so there's not a charge to these folks. We just want them to be successful, and we just want to grow more DBE contractors and help the ones that are out there be more successful.
We can't do this individually, but all of us business partners in the construction industry need to come together to build not only the capacity of the existing DBEs, but future generations of successful DBE contractors.
So that's the Construction Business Group in a nutshell, and a summation of why we're all together. And so let's get into the nuts and bolts of the masterclass and why it exists. But I do want to show you, I'm very proud of this. This is a first crop of graduates. Kenny Buford owns the Kenny Company. Brian Wilson owns second generations Native American Oneida. And Wendy Rosenthal is up in the Wausau area, started her company, applied for DBE certification, and is currently right now looking for approval. So to be eligible for the masterclass, either you got to be seeking your WisDOT certification, or you have to be an existing DBE to scale up your company. The next thing I'll show you is individual. is that I talked about Wendy. She just got a $500,000 dump truck, so she's in the dump truck business. Very good investment. It's 2024. She sent me the pictures and was ecstatic about ready to get into the game. Terry McGowan, Madeleine, and myself. This is a collaborative of the Construction Business Group, what we do at our conference up at the Dells. I talked about Brian Wilson. Brian came to us, and it's interesting. Brian has some challenges in his life, and he will always tell you that, he's ready to get back to work. Former football player over at the University of Wisconsin, Whitewater, but he's Oneida. And I can tell you, there's nobody that's going to work harder in this industry than Brian Wilson Jr. Just recently lost his father, and he told himself that he was apprehensive about heavy highway. He said his father told him he needed to get into heavy highway. So we had that particular discussion. So I call him my nephew. And then finally, Kenny Buford, he acquired the Kenny Company based upon what we consider an acquisition. Company was fledgling. Kenny came in with his capital, acquired the Kenny Company, and now he's a sole proprietor of the Kenny Company. And this is a great example how when you come into this industry, you only know what you know. But now that Kenny has taken the master class, he understands the importance of cash flow, not from just a business standpoint, but from the construction industry standpoint. And he's getting himself back on track. So we do that. So if you come into the master class, the first thing I will tell you is that this is our portal. It's our homepage. And you see through our homepage that we do labor compliance and fair contracting. But the first tab you'll see is the DBE tab. It'll come down and you'll see the masterclass news and about us, right? And then if you go to the tab that says the learning portal or the masterclass, you get login credentials. If you have a login credentials, the process that I use is that, if you're interested in masterclass, we're going to have a conversation, right? Because I'm not just going to sign you up because I'm not looking for numbers. I'm looking for people so I can do a character assessment on if in fact this is what you want. Because I've had people sign up for the masterclass and did not actually go through the masterclass. If you go 14 days without logging in, I will see it. 28 days, it locks you out of the system. Then we're going to have that come to Jesus meeting. But the more important thing is that don't use this masterclass as a cliche. Don't use it because you're telling people you're going through this masterclass in construction just for credentials. There's information in here that's dealing with financial projections and all of those other things that we need to make sure that people are taking and they're not just sitting on this content. So this is what we do. Once we have that conversation and I say, okay, this is how you register for the masterclass. You go here, you register. This particular, you click on this one here. It already says that I'm logged in as a director. But these are the type of things that it's going to ask you about. It's going to ask you the account information to register for the masterclass, all of your personal information, username, ID, and then it has this term of conditions. The main thing in the term of condition is that you will not share this proprietary information with anyone because this platform we created internally within CBG. So it's not something that we actually purchased off the shelf. I had a budget, I hired a consultant, we sat down with a team, Baker Tilly helped us with it, and we actually created the masterclass. So that's what this terms and conditions are for. If you have any clients that you want to refer to me, I do all of the referrals. I sit down and because they give me a company car and a credit card, I'm good at what I do. So I want you to, once you're done with that, you check the box. Once you check the box, it'll take you back to this portal where you actually now are signed into the masterclass. You use your username and your ID. This is where you log in, and this is where you actually will see the masterclass. Now, because I'm in the administrators portal, you're going to see some things outside of what a normal client will see. But if they sign in, this is what comes up on their screen. Now, I always tell folks, once you're in, if you need to get a hold of me, the best thing to do is use this this portal here. All of this comes to my email. That way I can keep track of all of my you know, all of my technical assistance that I need. If I can't do it, I still got the consultant working with me. And then you see the courses. Currently, right now, we have this one course, which is a master class. There'll be another 10 module course, and you understand the module system once I get into the master class of the advanced master class. And we do a deeper dive based upon some of the things that WisDOT needs. Like WisDOT reached out to us and asked us, will we be able to do some beam guard classes? Well, we're working currently right now with local 139 to see if that can happen. And so these are the type of things that we want to contribute to the industry because we're part of the industry. If you click on and open it up, this is what I see. You know, it has 9 modules, so you can see unit number 1. This probably would be better if I showed you this part of it. So this is the masterclass course content. It has a masterclass overview. These are all of the content and units. Each of the units then will actually have, it'll tell you how many topics it has and how many quizzes it has. The quizzes, you have to have a 75% pass rate on these quizzes. Otherwise, it will not allow you to advance to the next numerical unit. And so this one here, I always tell when I talked about cash flow, this is good. This was done by Baker Tilly. The income balance statement sheets are good. And this one here that's down here, quantity takeoff and estimating for transportation, that was done by Tom Birch over at the Matthew Corporation that, you know, is good at what he does. And, you know, he receives price quotes from DBEs, but he also shared his knowledge on how to submit price quotes. All of this is web-based. It's all video-driven, and I can share with you on how this actually works. We'll go to incomes. Well, let's go to cash flow strategies. I'm gonna click on this cash flow strategies. It'll tell you that you've got 3 parts to it, and you got 3 knowledge tests. So if you go to the video instructions, I click on the video instructions, it brings up a video. Tom Sheehan, CPA from Baker Tilly, is actually doing this. And I'll just play maybe a couple of minutes of it so you can kind of get a gist of what our clients are actually seeing and what they're talking about.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unit 4, Cash Flow Strategies. We appreciate you joining us today. I'm Tom Sheehan from Baker Tilly. I lead our Wisconsin real estate and construction practice, and I reside in the Madison office. Again, today we're talking about cash flow strategies, and we appreciate you taking the time to run through this with us. Our agenda today really is a little bit of a deep dive into some strategies and some approaches to take when you get into cash flow management. Cash flow is one of the most important issues facing contractors today, and quite honestly, probably any day or any time period. More companies go bankrupt due to cash flow issues than due to profitability of jobs. We'll explore tools, techniques from simple to complex that allow you to project, manage, and control your cash flows. We'll take a detailed look at financial projection techniques, which include the use of a 15-week cash flow. We'll also talk about examples of projected financial statements that include the income statement, statement of cash flows, which leads directly into your cash flow management strategies, and just as importantly is your balance sheet projection, which will help you work with your bonding company, bank, et cetera, and users of the financial statements. We'll touch base on the importance of financial controls, billing and collection strategies, and some best practices for cash disbursements that include payroll. Our wrap-up will touch on considerations in the contracting process that include change order management and financial reporting. So without further ado, we're going to jump into samples of financial statements that start with the income statement projection. So just a bit of context here. So this is a 7-year look at income statements that are projected. What I have here is the first column being last year, and in this case, last year we're going to say is 2021.
So I'm going to stop it there because this is important. I don't want you to take the master class in the short period of time that we have, but I just wanted you to know that Joe Davis or anybody within CBG does not facilitate the we facilitate the master class, but we don't conduct it. What we've done is we reached out to our partners, and we have all subject matter experts that are actually presenting the master class, those who are currently working in the construction industry, whether it's consultants or whether it's service providers. They are conducting these things, and Baker Tilly has a lot of clients in the construction industry that they advise regarding their the net worth and how they actually move forward in a very strategic way. So how this process works is once the video comes to the first unit, it pops up a quiz. If you go to the knowledge check, you can click on the knowledge check, and this is where the questions come based upon information that comes out of the video. And then, as I mentioned before, it's only 3 questions, but these are the most pertinent questions that you have. And I'll just kind of I'll give you an example. Is that after you answer these questions, it brings up whether you got the question right or whether you got the question wrong. We don't want subcontractors and businesses to be sitting at this particular masterclass. We just want to make sure that we're transferring knowledge. So we don't put a whole thesis of responses that they have to respond to. What we want to do is that they get the whole purpose of what that video had presented to them, and they can answer it in a good way. And once they're involved in a master class, we don't take the credentials away. We ask them to continue to come inside of the portal to review their questions so they can increase their capacity. So the first question is, what is the most viable number on the projection of income statements that controls that you can control? And that is, I'll answer gross profit. What is the following line items typically tracked on the cash flow projections? Depreciation, capital expenditures, owner distributions, all of those other things I do, all of the above. And then why is it important to have projections on balance sheets? It says required by law, demonstrates ratio of assets, identifies the amount of working capital. I think I'm going to just answer this one wrong. And then when you finish the quiz, what it does is it gives you a status bar. So you have reached 2 of the 3 points. And then if you want to find out what was wrong, you can see that the first answer was right, the second answer was right, but the third answer was wrong. And it was both of these. And so the client can then go back, restart the quiz, and then they can take the knowledge check over. And then, well, let's just do this. Once you see that, and once you finish the quiz, says you got 3 of 3 points. And then you notice this green tab here. Before, the green tab didn't pop up. Now the green tab has popped up because you have now achieved 75% of the answers right. So it allows you to go to the next unit. So that's in a nutshell. I want to leave a little bit of time for question and answer so that if anybody has any questions, that would be good. But I always like to end presenting the master class with this very important video that I got, and that is from Secretary Thompson. So let me just play this for you right quick. And Secretary, go for it.
Thank you. It's indeed an honor to welcome you to the DBE Masterclass. I'd like to thank Construction Business Group of Wisconsin for coordinating this important effort to help small Wisconsin businesses and individuals compete for a share of the state's highway construction contracts. WisDOT's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program has long worked to increase the number of women and minority-owned businesses that actively pursue state projects. We do this for 2 reasons. First, as a state agency, we have a responsibility to level the playing field for people who have been historically marginalized in our society. The actions we take to build equity and inclusion in the transportation construction industry have a powerful impact on Wisconsin's culture and on our economy. But beyond that, building DBE participation makes WisDOT better. It increases access to contracts, helping to ensure that the most capable firms are doing the work on time and on budget. It increases competition for projects, which allows for the best and most cost-effective use of tax dollars. It brings new perspectives to the decision-making process and helps us understand the diversity of transportation needs throughout the state. And it diminishes institutional barriers and allows WisDOT to access the talent and industry of all the people of Wisconsin. We realize that competing for government contracts can be daunting. The many sources of funding that go into transportation projects can mean several layers of regulations and requirements for contractors to fulfill. Schedules and budgets can be exacting. Making sure that the DBE businesses that are new to government contract work can successfully navigate that process is what the DBE Masterclass is all about. The work of breaking down old barriers and creating a more inclusive society is necessary, and that is why your participation is so important. Thank you again for being a part of the DBE Masterclass, and we look forward to working with you soon.
All right, so that's what I have. Dr. Anthony, and I appreciate getting that beef brisket in
So
in
you
time
got your,
limit.
you have your beef brisket coming. Hey, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions and then I gotta run because I gotta be, I'm on campus here at 12.
Yes, sir.
But so here's the thing. One, what are you most proud of with this program? And then what are the biggest barriers you see from some of the companies that have come through the program? It appears that maybe 31, 32 companies have come through the program.
Yes. Biggest thing, Ruben, that I'm proud of is that they tapped me to actually create this program. This program wasn't in existence, and as you know, you were one of my first calls. You and Jason and some other folks, and we were able to put ideals down and bring them to fruition. And that's the reason why the master class exists, because there was a network of folks who that I knew who had institutional knowledge. The other thing is that I got WTBA and all of the major prime contractors on board, and it's reflective of what WisDOT really needed at this point. And it's good to have the trust and also the support of WisDOT, because otherwise I'm just out there trying to fling it by myself, and it's important for them to bring that in. And the last question that you talked about is with the amount of folks that we have coming through, I'm intentional. I mentioned this before, man. If like you sent me one of my first referrals, Nick Hawthorne. Well, Nick Hawthorne currently right now has got his DBE certification and working for the Matthew Construction Company, actually in their lab, because they're he's doing quality control for their asphalt. So there's deliverables that we've achieved, and I think we can do a lot more if we work together in a collaborative effort.
All right. Hey, I'm going to turn you over to the more than capable hands of Madalena as I exit. Good talking to y'all.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Ruben. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Really always love to hear about those courses, because as familiar as I am with them, I think that I learn something new each time you go over them. So thank you very much for that. I want to give Bruce a chance to offer any guidance here or take the discussion forward, as you may want to do as the co-chair here.
Okay. Yes, I didn't get a chance to speak with Ruben before today's meeting. Well, not regrettably, but I was traveling on some other business and didn't get a chance to speak, though. But I really appreciate having Joe present this program. It's going to be very important. And I guess I want to go back to a couple of other questions earlier that I mentioned. I don't know if John Anderson is in our group or not. He's probably on the construction side of the this breakout session, but I just want to make sure to be I want to be sure to be clear that construction engineering inspection, you don't necessarily have to be an engineer. There are we have technicians as well, and so I really want to encourage that that trans program does develop and look more broad at also providing those types of services that we can use. We are going to be successful on this significant project we have on Valit Street. And we expect that once we're successful and with all the work that's coming up, we're going to go after more work as a prime for construction engineering inspection. And like even this year, I could have used a trans person. We had a person that we were going to be using 12 hours a week for the duration of the project. Unfortunately, she was not able to stay in her master's program at MSOE, and she relocated back to Boston, and I couldn't find another technician. But I would love to next year target bringing on board a trans person to be involved with our next project we're going to be successful winning. Joe, you commented about as well the CDFI program, and you mentioned US Bank. I think you mentioned there's another bank also that you're using in your program that for CDFI.
Yeah, and that's a good question, Bruce, because, once we started the master class and we start doing a deep dive and assessment on the needs of DBEs, and, Madeleine and I have had numerous conversations about this, is access to capital, right? Because DBEs can't scale up unless they have access to affordable capital. So this is the reason why we started working with the CDFIs, because, and Tandra, yeah, I remember when Tandra was over at DOA, that was one of our first meetings, because she was actually advising the secretary on how to get this funding out. And now the CDFIs are, if you work with a CDFI that has forgivable loans or grants, and a conventional banks that gives small businesses access to capital and affordable capital, I think that's a winning. A combination, but you got to make sure that DBE is ready to scale up, because that could be the kiss of death too. They can put them in debt, and once the debt occurs, then they do have the loan mobilization program, which allows them to kind of focus on that. But those are two-party checks that is very difficult. You're gonna have to be disciplined when you pay back your debt. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But what caught my interest and reminded me of a conversation I had when we were in the Dells. I don't recall which person I was speaking with, but the key point you said in there as well, like you gave the example earlier that a person got $250,000, but half of that is a grant or forgivable. And so I too would be very interested in looking at CDFIs, especially if a portion or all of that could be a grant or forgivable, because to your point and to the point of the DOT in general, and specifically not just look at Southeast region, I would love to create some opportunities in the central and also in Northwest regions. We've gone out and met with firms there. I also have a engineer that lives in Green Bay, but he comes down here to Southeast region. We would love to, again, develop and expand up in the Northeast region. So I'd like to learn more about particularly at US Bank and the other institutions to talk with about. I think I'm ready to grow and take on that financial risk.
So Bruce, what I would want to do is I want to partner you with Willie Smith over at the Northwest Side CDC, because that's right in your backyard. And I think he'd love to talk to you, because I just had a conversation with him about the funding that he has as a CDFI, wanting to get out to DBEs. So absolutely. And I'll follow up with you.
Okay, great.
And I don't know if we had defined CDFI before, in case anyone on here doesn't know. That is the Community Development Financial Institution.
Yeah.
So kind of like a credit union, kind of like a bank. So yeah, and FAC, which is First American Capital Corporation, does oversee with the American Indian Chamber our loan mobilization program. And so we can help to guarantee loans for go check out the website, but we can guarantee those loans. It doesn't have to come through CDFI, but that's one option. But we just were authorized to put an extra $100,000 into our account for guaranteeing loans. So we're just going to keep trying to keep building that. And then the more demand we get for loan guarantees, the more we'll be able to say we have a need. And so that can really help for a bank to give a loan that they may otherwise think is a bit of a risk. But if WisDOT's going to cover 90% of that loan, their risk is pretty small. And so it makes someone who might be a little bit more questionable, or maybe new business, doesn't have a lot of credit established, can can actually go out and get that funding because it's really key. So I know we're going to get kicked out of here in a minute. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks everybody for being in here, and we'll continue to develop this conversation moving forward. Tandra, I see you're on camera now, so just did you want to say something before we hop over? Okay, good. Well, I saw that 4-minute warning go up, so I know it's gonna happen any second now.
Yeah, any second now. Yes.
Yes.
Now, so.
Okay, thanks, Christina.
Just jumping on, I don't like to cut anybody off mid.
Okay, thanks. See you back in the other ether.
From our training program into working for you as a contractor. And another thing that we've had discussions about in our highway construction workforce partnership has been in a sort of an adopt classmate type situation where we can utilize our contractors, and some contractors have been very successful at that. Malbec comes to mind, in having them work as a mentor to someone that's working their way through the program and helping them even after they graduate through our training program as a mentor wherever they may go. So I think there are a lot of opportunities. The Highway Construction Workforce Partnership, a grant we received this past year, is looking and they're working on a needs analysis right now for us. Another thing that Alec brought up in our general session is that we're relaunching the trans program as the Highway Construction Skills Training, HCST. And I would say it's pronounced exactly as it sounds, HCST. And I think it's very descriptive. What feedback we've received from the Department of Workforce Development is that's very helpful to them when they refer people to our training program. The trans program is very vague. Is it working at DMV? Is it working on highways? Is it working in Madison? What is it? And I think the highway construction skills training will provide a much better opportunity, not only with DWD, but when working with our other partners to promote. And I will say within our highway construction skills training relaunch, we've worked on a new logo. I'm working with our public relations program to help get the word out. John will be happy to know we're working on new stands, new banners, new promotional materials, and we got some of those out already. For those of you that were at the DBE annual event, I don't have one in front of me, but the little stress hats, the tape measures, things to get the name out and to work on finding more ways to get these folks, because we know it's a competitive workplace. We know there are a lot of opportunities. We know the highway construction skills training, formerly trans, is a so much better opportunity for them to advance their career than McDonald's or some of those other places. The problem is McDonald's can get you on board right away. Our training program takes a little bit of time to get you through that pipeline. And our highway construction workforce partnership is looking at supportive services, wraparound services to help not only attract those candidates, train and retain, and then obviously we'll look for further contractor support to help place them in areas where they can find a good solid job and grow in that job. So I know we had a couple minutes while people were transitioning in. I just wanted to give you an overview. And again, that's the Highway Construction Skills Training Program, HCST, formerly the Trans Program, and the Highway Construction Workforce Partnership, HCWP, which is a grant we received. We're working with the Workforce Development Board's Employ Milwaukee and the Madison Workforce Board on a needs assessment now, and then wrap around in further services once we get beyond that point. I think, Tim, you had a question, and first let me just say this. Let me say this quickly. Generally, Joshua Johnson and Alec have been facilitating this meeting. Josh is unable to attend, so I thought it would be a really good opportunity to just throw out what new great things are happening, how amazing John and our providers are in supporting this transition, and how that new energy, I think, will help build the program even further. So And then we can still go through the 2023 focus areas that we had been working on in the past. That being said, Tim, you had a question. John, your hand's up. There's plenty of time for everybody. I'm excited, and I hope you're excited too. Go, Tim.
Yeah, we are. Thank you for kicking off the party, man. Particularly following our disappointing meltdown with our Bucks last night. In these last
No, you ruined it
so
for me. I didn't
we
see it.
appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Bringing some more joy to an otherwise somber morning. But dig this, man. I had two questions. One had to do with the assessment piece. Is that from just a general overview of the lay of the land in the community on what types of trainings are available, or will that needs assessment be specific to any organization that does the training on an individual basis? Question number one. And then question number two. You couldn't answer that one.
Let me answer one. We'll go to two then.
Okay.
I just don't want to miss any piece. So we contracted with the workforce development boards because we knew what opportunities were in that area. We knew what services they're already providing. Some of you may be familiar with WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It helps provide support for people entering or re-entering the workforce. And so that was an opportunity, we think, for additional supportive programs to keep people in the training and to help people once they leave training. And support may include childcare, transportation, all sorts of things to help people in that program and in that career pathway. So they are looking at all of the data we provided as a group. The workforce partnership involves industry representatives as well as our service providers. And so the service providers provided data specifically to trucking, to the our pathway, our career pathways, apprentice, pre-apprentice. I think there were training program data, a whole number of things. And they're conducting a survey. They're conducting surveys with our industry partners, some that were a part of that group, and then others that we've identified along the way. We may even be sending a survey from WisDOT, but we thought it was best to start. I'm sorry, John. If you're talking to us, you're on mute, so I'm not sure. But so we may do a survey with WisDOT, but we wanted to start with our partners, asking their membership, and having the workforce boards reach out to their memberships first to drill down, thinking it would be more appropriate if NAMAC members and easier for NAMAC members to respond to their survey versus a generic survey that says, hello, everyone who's possibly involved with WisDOT, please answer this survey. We want to drill down and get those stakeholders to be part of that survey, whether it's leadership or membership or both. Okay, you had a second question.
Yeah, and related to that then, as far as the barrier to entry or on-ramp to entry, interested individuals would then go with the workforce development boards to do their interest, to do any sort of training, to get plugged into either of these programs. Is that the
so what we have contracted the workforce boards to do is find out where there are gaps in our current system. And so they're going to look to see, well, you know what, we have 30% of folks that aren't getting through the training program. Why aren't they getting through the training program? Well, maybe they've got childcare issues. Maybe they can't afford to stay for 6 weeks because they have no income to pay their bills. But the workforce development boards can say, hey, we've got WIOA funds, we can co-enroll them, and perhaps there are things we can do with that regard. Maybe, as others have done, we can put together a stipend program so that they're at least able to pay their bills while they're in that 6 weeks of training. It's an investment, but telling someone they have to go 6 weeks without an income versus McDonald's that will take you probably right away and give you a free hamburger. Well, we want to give more than a free hamburger to people. We want to give people a career opportunity, but we need to get them through those training programs first. Another part of the workforce development, that partnership, is looking at a true partnership with industry to keep them retained in after they've graduated. We lose sight of some folks. No doubt we have some transitional students that are in the program that could be very effective and excellent workers and build that career. But we don't want to lose people. We want to try to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
So,
Let me ask.
the workforce board will help us pipe in the onboarding. Then we work with our service providers, Big Step, Forward Services. They help set up those trainings to get folks trained on our previously the trans program, that 6-week program now called the HCST, and then work with them from there on. We also want to look towards schools and counselors and other places. Some of the service providers are doing that already, but we want to see if there are gaps and where we could potentially have fairs, opportunities to further interact with them. And those recommendations then that the workforce boards make to us will come back to that partnership group, and the partnership group will then make decisions on what to move forward and where we could continue to go from there.
Gotcha. And
Sorry, Tim, I keep interrupting you, but
no, it's all, it's all good. I can see we both are pretty loquacious, so it's all good. Prior to coming aboard at NAMAC as the Executive Director of Infrastructure Business Development in December of this past year, I actually served as the Public Relations and Brand Manager at Employ Milwaukee. So, I'm hip to the whole workforce development piece, and that's cool. One of the things in working in that particular space, though, with the WIOA programs and others, is that sometimes the focus for WIOA eligible folks is that you have to have so many different, I guess, challenges in your life to be eligible. Whereas there might be some folks that might not have that many challenges, but are interested in construction along these paths. So I guess my final question, now let other folks get a word in edgewise, is if I'm at an event like I was at last night, talking to some folks about an event that we have coming up that I thought they would be, great to come to. If I'm seeing a person having a conversation at Walgreens or at an event or wherever, and somebody is saying they have some, construction related aptitude and interest, is there a way I can say, hey man, WisDOT has the highway construction training, give a call to Mike or Alec or whatever, and you can get plugged into the program? Or will I have to direct said individual to either of these other partners that you just kind of delineated a second ago?
So the first point of stop would be our website. Our highway construction skills training has a website page. We're handing out and we're printing out handouts with QR codes, so people will be able to get to that site on the handout. We'll be printing them out for the service providers. Otherwise, they can go to WRTP Big Step. They can go to Forward Services. They can inquire about the training. The web page has the connections to the contacts for each of the trainings.
Got it.
And that's where I say, I think we're the best kept secret around. Our goal is using that. And just because someone may not be WIOA eligible, we're looking at a whole sorts of opportunities. WIOA is one potential piece. Just getting out there, outreach, using social media to let people know about the programs, and also connecting with the service providers to ensure that our outreach links up with open classes. We want to get people into open classes, and we want to be on their schedule so that we can move people through the system from the starting recruitment all the way through retention as an employee.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? John, you had your hand up before. If you haven't forgotten it, please share.
No, I didn't forget. I was just going to ask, how can I get my hands on some of that highway construction skills training swag?
Well, we have provided some materials already to Big Step. We gave some to Lindsay. We gave some materials to, I see Jennifer here. You got some, right? That was just our first start. So here's where we are. We had our soft launch at the DBE annual event. And I said, let's print up a whole bunch of stuff just to get the word out at that soft launch. There were some things that will come in the second wave. Presentation stands, additional swag, handouts with QR codes to our website. And we've talked to staff on other needs that they have as well. So it's coming in waves. Part of the issue is we needed to give the workforce board time to conduct their needs assessment and talk to the service providers and other partners. But as we continue to ramp this up, I know that DOT is excited to help get the word out on those trainings and to provide swag. If you know much about DOT or even any state agency, they're not the cool swag folks. There isn't ever really a budget for swag. Then I go to all these other conferences with companies and they have all sorts of coffee mugs that heat themselves and everything else. But I made a real big push to get the maximum amount of swag we can to help get the word out because it's an investment. And some of it's silly, but we need people to understand what HCST is, that it's a new name. We appreciate the trans name, don't get me wrong. But I think that this will be very helpful in working with DWD and our other partners to help get the word out on what this name is. Our public affairs will be working with the service providers to help market and provide outreach that will connect with those classes so we can get people in through the pipeline. And again, I think our focus with this group is looking for potential mentor companies to help build that connection once they get through the class. And
well, I definitely would, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Daniel Webster, but I'm going to say that Wallbeck and their subsidiaries, you know, I get the pleasure of spending a lot of time with Daniel and working with Wallbeck, and so I think, you know, I would definitely hope that they're on the list. There may be some other contractors, and I know that this being a DOT-centric initiative, but we have, you know, some other contractors whom we work with, like CG Schmidt or Hunzinger. So if there's ever the thought to expand because we want to touch the contractor community, or maybe, you know, the AGC, or so, you know, we kind of take it from a top down. So, but anyway, I'll just, any help that you might think of, I'm always willing to try to help be an ambassador and advocate there.
I appreciate that, John. And let me just say, in law school, I started a mentor-mentee program where we connected our third-year students with our initial first-year students to help get them through that complex process. And so when I'm looking at the DOT approach, it's something similar. We want to be there. And what's interesting now is years later, I see those mentors, they're still in connect with the people they were connected with. They built that connection, and it's been a staying connection. And I've noticed in my own team, by building connections with our workers, the more connected they feel, the longer they stay with that group of people. And so I think the goal here isn't to just get people through a program. I've said building a career, but getting them placed in our industry with people that will appreciate them and where they can have that relationship.
Do we have, is there someone who's taking the lead as far as the mentoring goes? Because WRTP Big Step specifically, we have kind of beyond our general mentoring, there's the women in non-traditional trades and occupations. So we have a specific mentoring initiative that is geared towards females. And so, you know, them being unique in ways, I just offer up the knowledge or the fact that WRTP does have a women-centric mentoring program that's ongoing, that's being led by a staff member, Nyana Jones. So if there's some way that, you know, I'd like to parlay and make a connection, if someone's leading the mentoring initiative for DOT, let me know.
That's a great chance for me to announce we have a new labor development specialist that will be starting in May, who will be helping work on that mentorship as well as other partnership priorities. Her name is Maggie Givens, and she has worked with the Department of Workforce Development over the past few years. so she has familiarity with DWD, and I know that in my discussions with her, she's really excited on being involved on the mentorship and other labor development initiatives. So we'll be in touch with you, John. Is there anyone else who would like to be part of that core group of discussion with regard to a mentor program, company, and then with a student that's working through the HCST program? Any other company or individuals that are on this call?
Michael,
Yeah,
you
you
can add
could.
me to the list, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. I didn't see you before, but I appreciate your efforts as well. And there are several others from our service providers that are part of this call. I know there's a lot that has been in the works over the past few months. We were in a race to launch the name at the DBE annual event, but there will be a lot more contact with providers and other parts of this industry as we move forward. Any other besides Jennifer?
I just want to add to Bruce Van's question at the end to Alec about if they would use anyone for, we could transition some people or see if anyone in the program is interested in inspections or even doing survey, possibly. I know they do have a civil engineering class that sometimes we look to get people from, again, from M squared to at MATC that we look to try to find people. So I don't know if there could be a connection there for people looking to maybe work in the inspection or survey area of.
Christina, are you the person speaking? I can't quite tell on my screen.
Yes, is my
Okay.
mic not?
There are a lot of names and people on the screen. I just wanted to make sure I was
Sorry.
versus someone who might be off of mute.
Okay.
There
quick,
could
Mike.
be,
Real quick,
does anyone want to follow up on Christine's question, or I can follow up after that?
Sound like
quick.
Renard.
Yeah, real quick, Mike. For Christine, because of the partnership that we have in Northeast, with Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, NWTC here in the Green Bay area, we've been on the campus with our program since the beginning of 2019, and we've had several of our students come through degree-oriented programs after graduation, after starting jobs. In fact, we have a student right now that is in the surveying portion of that program. She's a 2015 graduate who works in materials right now, but we're actually doing that.
Yeah, and I would just add on to what Renard is saying. We have, Dan had brought this up a while back, so we've been in communication with NWTC just to see what they might be able to offer or add to our current HCST curriculum in training. If they could take like pieces of it just to build some just awareness of the position and opportunities. So I think we're always looking for volunteers to come in versus having to pay for that, but all ears and open to ideas here.
Okay.
So
Any
I
other?
guess I have a question about outreach, and you talked a lot about outreach, Mike, but I don't see a lot of this stuff when it comes to outreach, I guess, anywhere, right? I mean, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. I got Facebook, all that same sort of stuff, right? And I think that one of the goals here should be going from the best kept secret to really figuring out how to promote this, because one of the things that I struggle with is the value proposition. This is a great program, and it shouldn't be a last stop for folks, right? It should be something that people are considering to move into earlier on, because I wish I knew about it before I actually started to pursue some of my academic stuff, because I probably would have went along more of the construction management, engineering type of stuff if I would have known about the industry. So I guess, how do we help our service providers with ramping out their outreach and recruitment efforts to get more, to pull more candidates because the work is there.
So Dan, to answer your question, the reason I mentioned our need to prioritize outreach is because we agree more could be done. I know our service providers do quite a lot with the resources they have, but their budgets are very limited, and so they put a lot of time and energy into the actual classes. When I say about looking at outreach, I'm talking specifically about the highway construction partnership, identifying ways that we can continue to build from the outreach we currently have. And our public affairs team at DOT will be meeting with the service providers I've mentioned to use social media as one opportunity. And they've even explored radio spaces. And I think some of the concern is we want to hit the target instead of just throwing money away into a very expensive and limited space. We want to use social media to target folks that would truly be good recruits for the program. And so you'll hear, for those that are part of the Highway Construction Partnership, once we review the needs assessment, we'll be looking for ideas from that assessment to expand that outreach. Some we're doing automatically. You'll see some things come through social media as we continue to escalate the HCST rollout. It's a year rollout. It's not just a one-time rollout at the DBE office. That was one hit as the soft rollout. The analyst that helps us with labor development and I went through the Northwest region this last week at economic program info sessions that were held. WEDIC, some of the small business folks, tribes, they all partnered together to provide these info sessions so we can let people know what programs are out there as well. So we're starting to get on the road to different sessions to speak about the opportunities that are there for companies as well as for schools, and with the tribes and our other partners. But you're right, there's a lot more we can do. I'm trying to put together that list with our public affairs individuals. And again, I think it's important to coordinate that though with the trainings that are in place. So we don't have people all excited and then they find out there isn't a training for 6 months. We want to get them placed into the training, and that's something that we have not worked out yet. That's another priority of our new labor development specialist. And again, there's been a bit of a delay in some of this in that we're waiting for the recommendations to come out. Those Workforce Development Board recommendations on their analysis are due out, I believe it's in June. They're still looking at the preliminary data and they're completing surveys at this point with partners in the industry. We provided a list of individuals.
So Michael, do you have funds available for outreach to support more grassroots outreach methods that are needed and collaborate more with community groups that have closer touch points with
we do not, right. We don't have a specific budget for anything additional beyond the services that we provide. What we have used our funds to do was to connect with our workforce development boards and utilize their pathways to reach out and their services to help us connect our partners together to identify groups that do have services, resources, and opportunities. Jennifer, I see your hand is up. Did you want to follow up on that, or was that up from before?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I 100% agree with Dan about the importance of outreach. I did put in the chat the video that was created from the recent graduation. I'll say that that has been a great effort that we've been seeing from WisDOT is the focus on kind of creating these quick kind of videos for us to market, because I think our graduates are really what speaks volumes to the impact of the program, whereas like a flyer that just doesn't give you the full impact of what we do and the accomplishments that our graduates have, in the industry. So that was a really quick turnaround for a video. I know that WisDOT's looking at doing videos with both graduates working in the industry as well as contractors, which I think is going to be really great. We've been seeing some work with the boards, and they're working on Road Trip Nation that works with youth, and they actually do interviews with industry speakers to just get a better understanding of kind of what to expect in the program, what, the employment ladder looks like, in those specific industries. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that in these videos that will be created. I know they're also looking at a hard launch where they'll be out in, future graduations as well. When we're out in the community at some of the work site visits, they'll take some videos there. So I'm really excited about getting more of these videos out there to kind of put on social media, because our resources are stretched pretty thin. We've got a communications department, but they have so many programs they're looking at. When you have like something that we can just take and just post online is so important, and it makes it, a lot easier to get this information out. So I appreciate it. And I think it doesn't just say this can only be used in Northeast, like it can be used anywhere. So it'll be nice when we've got kind of a library of similar, materials.
And Jennifer's referring, I had a meeting last week with our public relations team, and she's referring to our plan to get out to those trainings, let people know what is available, make recordings, small things that can be posted as reels, and just do a full out blitz. We just had a meeting last week, an initial meeting, and they said they'd be reaching out to other providers too. So there will be additional contact, the tribe providers, Northeast, Southeast, Madison. It's rolling out slowly but surely. And we don't have a huge marketing budget, I'm sorry to say, but we have a lot of resources we're trying to leverage to help with the program.
I was really following the comment that you made, Sabrina. I think I know where you're at. That ground level grassroots deal. And I know, from my experiences in the last 11 years working with TransNet, transitioning to HCST, it has always been the success that we've had with our graduates have always been our greatest marketing tool, and even when you talk about Facebook, it was huge success for us to utilize our own graduates on their Facebook pages, not so much the DOT or FSC's Facebook page, but the graduates' Facebook pages, because with their networks, that is what gets us 85 to 90% of every one of our classes. I've got a class starting on the 8th of May. We've already have 16 people, and I bet you 12 or 13 of them were from referrals from former graduates. It's their tree that sort of bears the fruit. When we talk about the limited budget that we do have, to really point that at, those people who have, who know the program, just like Dan, who came through in 2014, really focus on them. I think you'll get more of a bang for your buck.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Renard. I just want to let you know I live in Appleton, so I live in Northeast Wisconsin as well.
One of the things that I found interesting is that in some cases we weren't getting graduation certificates out as quickly as we could have at DOT, and people were getting them mailed out or divided. So we've made a point of getting those certificates out earlier so we can celebrate that graduation. And maybe one of the things we can encourage people to do at that graduation is get out their phone and celebrate it, post it on their page if they'd like, and let people know, hey, mom, hi, dad, hi, all those folks that are on their friends list. I graduated today, right? So we want to be able to celebrate those successes and do what we can to expedite certificates and being involved in the social media piece. I recognize graduates are a huge part of it, word of mouth, and we've utilized graduates. And I appreciate that the service providers have helped us do that at different trainings. And then they brought tears to many eyes hearing about the successes of people that have gone through our program. And we're making videos on that as well. Those same speakers will be featured in other small DOT videos that we'll be sharing on social media. Other questions or suggestions? This has been great. I've been writing notes, so I appreciate your thoughts, but any suggestions for either the skills training or that work group on what we could do, should do, aren't doing?
Just
we have about 5 minutes left, just as a time check.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump off in just a second. Dan, if you can just share, when you talked about in the earlier part of the meeting, how it was really, really powerful for you, pivotal for you, and then most recently about how you wish you would have known more about it before, going down your path. What were the top, let's say, 2 or 3 things that you would say as a graduate and one that has had a varied kind of career? What are the top 2 or 3 things would you say the program did for you as far as opening up one's eyes to the possibilities that are there with this being a viable career track, going through that training first?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tim. So it seemed like when I came out of the program, right, outside of, so I know that Renard went outside of what the expectations were for his role in terms of the support. But outside of that, it was just, we're going to put you in the field. Let's see if you're able to figure it out, right? That was almost 10 years ago now. And so I think that a lot of people fault out of the process earlier on, and it depends, right? Because apprenticeship is a little bit different from contractor to contractor. Some contractors are signatory, some are not signatory. So the industry is a little bit different, and then horizontal construction is different than vertical. And so I've learned all of this stuff over the years, right? But nobody helped me as far as how do you create a career path for yourself? I had to take that upon myself and start looking. And when I came into the industry, I seen that there were opportunities by just experiencing some of the stuff that was going on in the field. And so I started to make these other connections on my own, as far as there was no mentor, in terms of, Dan, let's figure out how to create a career path for you. I started to do that on my own. And it was through creating relationships with contractors. And it was because I stayed involved with things like this right here, right? And especially with tribal communities, going down to the local, promoting these things on my own. And I feel like I do a lot of promoting of the program personally, right? Because I know how much value exists in being able to come through the program and tie yourself to an opportunity. When I came to the program, I had a 2-year degree. And it was hard for me to find work with a 2-year degree. I come through a 6-week program, and I'm working 5 weeks into a 6-week program, blew my mind. Right. Wow. And so that's why I say it shouldn't be a last stop effort, right? We have to figure out how to invest in more of the marketing side of things and promoting the program so that people do understand that there is some availability here. And so people, and another thing was I have a lot of ties within the community. I always tell people I didn't grow up in the office, I grew up in the field. And so having those connections, I was able to bring people along with me, and then they seen the progression. Now it all depends on where you land because it's different. But and so seeing those gaps over the course of my career in heavy highway now, I've been able to go back and say, you know what? Get some of that field experience, go out there. But if you're here on campus at NWTC or Gateway or wherever it is you're at, walk across the campus and start thinking about what it looks like to become an engineer. Start thinking about what it looks like to become a safety manager, right? Because for me, being in my role now, it's not enough to just continue to bring. I brought a lot of people in level entry roles on my own and through the help of Wallbeck. But for me, I'm trying to close a gap when it comes to professional positions within the industry, right? I want to see people of color in more professional roles and managerial roles throughout industry. As far as coming in and into the entry point, though, this is an excellent program. It's just figuring out how can we prop it up better.
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions, thoughts, suggestions? We have about a minute. Oh, I think we're closing up.
Okay, real
Feel
quick,
free to email
Sabrina.
me or contact me if you have questions or suggestions. I will always be available and reach out to you as quickly as possible.
Did we all make it back?
Hello.
Looks like we have 21 folks, so I'm not sure everybody's back yet.
I think some people left during the
Okay.
breakouts too.
Okay, looks like we're up to 23.
Okay. I see Michael Stoudy's smiling face there. Maybe he's going to give the laborer group update.
Yes,
That
I
would be
will.
awesome. Thank you.
Cue me in. Do you want that now, or are we waiting a few?
Go ahead.
Okay. We had a very exciting labor development discussion. Joshua Johnson normally does a great job providing that discussion, but he's out today. So instead, we talked about the highway construction skills training. We talked about the soft launch and our plans, looking at further outreach needs, and we took suggestions on additional outreach that we can do with the resources that we have available. In addition, there was a brief discussion on the highway construction workforce partnership, currently conducting a needs assessment. The workforce board role, Employ Milwaukee and the Madison Workforce Boards, their role in conducting that needs assessment and helping us determine what our future actions should be. One of the topics that has been suggested is a mentorship program connecting our businesses or contractors and employers with folks that are working their way through the program. We have had many one-on-one successes, and I think there's a greater opportunity to look at providing a mentorship program for students to help them through that pathway. And so that's something we took several suggestions on who might be involved with that. And our future will be determined in part by the success and the recommendations we get for that highway workforce partnership. We recognize that it was only the beginning to have our liftoff at the DBE annual event. We're working with public affairs to further promote the program in social media and to work with the workforce, with our service providers. We're setting up meetings I had something disconnect. We're setting up meetings to help coordinate that outreach with training opportunities. So we're not just telling people about the program, we're putting them into empty seats in those training classes. So there'll be further collaboration. And then Dan Webster provided some examples of his opportunities and wanting us to continue to grow, not just through that program, but through our other opportunities that lead to higher skilled careers beyond that program. So the HCST, the Highway Construction Skills Training, is a great starter point, but we're looking for ways to expand beyond just that graduation into further career options.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. For the business group, as Bruce, he's the vice chair, would he want to provide an update on what we discussed?
Yes, well, I really would like to, because the lion's share of what we presented or discussed was the presentation by Mr. Joe Davis. I think he would be best able to summarize quickly what he talked about there. I just would add just a couple of comments that I had there, which was with respect to coming to keep the items that he brought up about being financially capable and ready to grow your business, and through getting loans and CDFI banks particularly. And one thing that he commented on was a participant in his program did get $250,000 in funding from a CDFI bank, and half of that is a grant. And I mean, if you get free money like the PPP loans, which if they were forgiven, they are really quite a godsend and a help in keeping the lights on and keeping staff employed and growing your company. Joe, are you still here? Could you talk quickly about a summary of your program?
Sure, Bruce, absolutely. So the construction business group established a masterclass. This was part of a joint effort between WisDOT, and also WTBA and operating engineers, local 139. And so what we wanted to do was create an ecosystem, a learning management portal, so that DBEs who are either seeking their certification or have their certification so they can scale up. And this is all about utilization, right? Madalena and her staff cannot do their job unless they have ready, willing, and able DBEs that can actually meet these goals. And there's only two ways for us to do that. Either we have new DBEs coming into the pool, and it takes a tremendous amount of time to scale them up, as we've learned, right? Or you take an existing DBE who has that potential to grow, and you scale them up to increase capacity. And that's what Bruce was talking about, alluded to, is that one of the ways that you can actually have DBEs grow is to have access to capital, so that that piece of equipment that they can operate that much more efficient. When the state engineers come out on those projects and have to inspect their work, we know that the DBEs do not impede the timeline that WisDOT has set for those particular projects. So it's a great partnership. Glad to be part of it. Masterclass is here. If you got any DBEs that you'd like to refer, talk to Madalena, or you can call me directly. We'll have that conversation with them and find out if they're ready to scale up.
Yeah, thanks,
Great.
Joe. I can't remember if you had mentioned to the full group or if it was just in our subcommittee, but there's also the potential in working with CBG to coordinate with the training facility in Coloma to be able to help some of our DBs expand into different work areas, potentially looking at guardrail, beam guard installation. So that type of a thing that can also help to increase the capacity. So looking at money and financial and how do you run your business and technical skills. So so excited to bring you more on that as it develops too. Thanks, Joe.
A pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. With that, we got a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts from Tandra or Madalena before we close out? I know our next meeting is July 27th from 10 to noon. So, but any
Perfect.
additional comments or thoughts?
Well, we thank everybody for your participation. As always, we know there are competing activities, and so we thank you for caring about this and sharing your time, energy, and input. Your suggestions often lead to solutions. I saw Tandra pop on for a second there, and then she disappeared. One thing I'll leave you on this note, Tandra did leave out that she is also a very accomplished baker.
Oh,
So at some point when we do this meeting in person, Tandra will be supplying some kind of delicacies, goodies, treats. And Joe Davis and I are counting on that. We've already discussed. Okay, Tandra?
So that'll be the
Okay,
dessert
so
after- that'll
thank
be
you,
the dessert
everybody.
after the beef briskets, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and Ruben's brisket. So it is going to have a party, you all, when we finally get
Ooh.
together in person. Thanks for
All right.
being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye,
Take care.
everyone. Thank you for everything.
Bye. See you,
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
see you next time.
Yep,
Bye
bye-bye.
bye.